All right, welcome back to the 307 Faithful Podcast. This is your host, Devin Davis. This is a Fellowship of Christian Athletes podcast. We've been doing this, started this back in December. Partner of mine, Paxton Yates, and as I tell you all the time, Paxton's a busy man. He just graduated and hope to do another episode before he heads off to college. But we've had a lot of great guests. I say that every week, but I think every week is my favorite. And we have another awesome guest this week, and I think everybody will know this person just by a few stats here. So I looked this up before I introduce her, but I looked this up. This is incredible, right? She was just the third Wyoming Cowgirl in Mountain West history to be named the Player of the Year in basketball, and was just the second Cowgirl in league history to win the conference scoring crown. But this is really cool. She also became the first student athlete in league history to record 500 plus points, 300 plus rebounds, and 50 plus blocks in the same season. She finished second in Cowgirl basketball program history with 1,860 career points, good enough for 10th all time in Mountain West history. I think she probably would be pretty proud of this too. She was a 3-time CSC academic all district selection, appearing in 130 career games for the Brown and Gold, the 6th most in program history. So the most amazing part about it, if you're from Wyoming, like I'm from Wyoming, is that as I read that, I'll tell you, she's from Glendo, Wyoming, of all the towns to be from. It's pretty incredible. So I think you've probably all figured it out. Our special guest today is former Cowgirl basketball player Allyson Fertig. Allyson, thanks a ton for joining us today. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. You got back from Germany not too long ago. You have a big event coming up, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But I just wanted to welcome you, and just wanted you. I always like for the people that are listening to kind of get a sense of my podcast guests. So I'd like for you just to introduce yourself. Tell us what you want about who you are, where are you from, just kind of a background, if you wouldn't mind, Allyson. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. This is going to be really fun, and I'm excited just to talk about my faith, my career, my basketball career, and just whatever else. But yeah, my name's Allison. I originally was born in Alaska, so I wasn't born and raised in Wyoming, but I was born in Alaska, grew up in Cody, and then in middle school I moved to Glendo area, and that's where I've been ever since. Yeah, I attended UW. It was a great choice for me. Um, I didn't really have many choices to begin with, just for recruitment, and especially from being a small town girl that I am. But Wyoming was the best choice. I did 4 years there, graduated last spring, and now I am pursuing my professional career in Germany. Yeah.
That's great. I didn't know that you were from Alaska, and then Cody, and then ended up in Glendo and played basketball at Douglas High School. So kind of a long kind of roundabout from Alaska to Germany, and all the stops in between. So I just, probably fresh in your mind. I know that I looked here that you played professionally this past season at Marburg in Germany. Tell us about professional basketball and your experience this past year playing in Germany.
Yeah, first of all, it's been just a great opportunity. It's so different. Just with like some of the different European like rules with basketball, like a shorter shot clock, some like travel rules are little different, but it's just been really fun like playing a different style of basketball. I'm not as much just sitting on the post. I'm still able to use my skills as a post player, but I'm setting a lot more screens and getting just a lot more movement. But Marburg is one of, I believe it's 12 clubs in Germany. So there's multiple divisions. So I'm in the first league, and that's like the major pro league in Germany. So there's 12 teams, and Marburg is they're as a club themselves, don't they haven't had much success in the last year or I mean last years, but this year we actually ended up um vice champion is what they call. We ended up second in the league, and going into the finals tournament, we were actually ranked 7th. So that was such an amazing experience, and that's why was usually the season ends in April, but the finals can go all the way into May, so that's why I didn't get home until May this year. But yeah, it's been really a great experience. There's it's just such a different kind of just like the fan experience, like, I wouldn't say basketball is the most popular sport over there. You have soccer, that's just insane in Europe, but it's just really cool just seeing the different community, like Marburg, the club is really good with community, like, you have fans every game, and they just love you so much, um, they they don't even know you, but they want to give you hugs and high fives and just wanna know everything about you, even though there's that language barrier. They try so hard, but it's been a really cool experience. I'm hoping to get back there next year, but it's not 100% sure yet. But I'm just really excited uh, that I've gotten this opportunity to play over there because it's just once in a lifetime kind of deal, especially um, being raised in such a small state and not really traveling outside much until I got to college, and now I'm traveling Europe. So.
That's that's really neat. Do you are there a lot of American, college athletes that play in the league that you're in?
Yeah, so each, team probably has, like, 2 to 3, girls from the USA. Like, my team, we had, um, a girl from she played at Michigan, and then we had a girl that played at Duke a while ago. But it's funny because it's such a small world, even all the way in Germany. Because one of my teammates this year, I played against her my freshman year in college, so it's kinda crazy, but yeah, throughout all the teams, there's at least 1, usually around 2 or 3, uh, America imports, so.
That's that's awesome. How big a, town is Marburg, or city, I should probably say?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's close to population to Cheyenne, but it's kinda more just compact, so there's not as much, um, land like Cheyenne
Yeah.
is, but, it seems like pretty busy, and it's like a student university, city, so lots of activity during, kind of the warmer months and stuff. But overall, I was a little nervous because 'cause I'm not great with huge towns and cities, but it's where I live and just the area of the town I live in, it just makes I feel safe, and doesn't feel as big as it actually is.
That's that's cool. What popped into my mind, and we're kind of going off track like I usually do in most of my podcasts, but I'm thinking to myself, being a committed follower of Christ, uh, what was that like in Germany? Did you have, and especially playing professional basketball, were you able to build any community or be able to attend church? What kind of experience did you have with that?
It was actually For me, it was actually a little disappointing just in the fact because of the language barrier, it's really hard to find a church that only speaks English. There are some out there, and, I need to do more research because it's just hard to find the churches, but I do know that there were a few, like, services that were English only, but they were in the middle of the week at, like, 7, and we practiced around that time, so it was so hard to get connected with that. I did attend this one church a few times, and it was a German-speaking church, but they just had, like, a translator sitting right next to you and, like, just translating what the preacher was saying, but it was just so hard because it was like I was listening but I still wasn't really getting a community, and it just felt, not very fruitful to me, and so I'm hoping, this upcoming season, I can find something that might be, more like just find something more available even if I have to go travel to a nearby city. But yeah, that was just my faith is so important to me as like it should be to all of us. But it was just so hard with the team. Like none of my teammates were really like none of them were really actually believers. There's lots of girls from lots of different backgrounds, and it was hard to really connect. I had good conversations with a few of my teammates, and I thought they went really well, but just nothing really grew out of them. But hopefully, you can just plant some seeds, like they always say. But yeah, but it was because we had so much time besides practice, and I was at my apartment a lot. I was able to do a lot of studies on my own, and so
Mhm.
that was really enjoyable, just having the time to sit down and read the word, um, just forever, like, for however long I want, and so that was really good, and I felt like that was it was very fruitful for me because my senior year of college, it was, like, the busiest year of my life, and I had, like, no time to do just my own stuff and growing my own relationship, so it's been really good in that way. So, yeah.
Then, traveling in Germany, I think, probably isn't near like it was traveling in the Mountain West Conference, or when you play basketball for Douglas High School. We're kinda used to having to drive a long ways, were road trips fairly short compared to your prior experience?
Yeah, so Marburg is kinda, like, in the middle of Germany, so when we go to just each, team we play, I think usually it's, like we usually have drives 2 to 3.5 hours around that. So, it's it's not too bad, but it is miserable because we traveled the same day we play just like back in high school, and then we're in we our club has 2 vans, that we travel in. Some other clubs do buses. There's one club that goes by train because they're just so far away from everyone else. But our longest drive is to Berlin, and I can't remember how long that is, but we have to travel the night before. But yeah, it kinda reminds me back in high school when you have to just travel everywhere and just take a nap on the bus the whole way there. Um, but yeah, so that took getting used to 'cause college, you're treated so well. You get to fly in the night before, relax, sleep in, and then you play at, like, 6, so we were
Yeah,
spoiled.
and so you would travel there for the game and then travel back that same night?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of night
Yep, that's
yeah,
that's Wyoming high school basketball all over again pretty
yep,
much, isn't it?
yep.
Well, and talking about that, I know you played at Douglas, and I've read a little bit, but kind of tell us your experience. I mean, here you end up playing professionally in Germany. What was basketball like to you as a freshman? What was your experience like at Douglas High School? Did you ever imagine that you'd be at this place and saying, "Man, I finished a professional basketball season in Germany." Kind of take us back to those Douglas High School days.
Yeah, so I actually didn't really get into competitive basketball until I was 6th grade, and it was when I moved here in this area. It was actually my first day of school where, 2 girls came up to me and were like, "Do you wanna be on our travel basketball team?" And I told them, "I'll ask my mom." So that was kind of the beginning of, my competitive basketball career, just being in those um travel competitive, like, it's more competitive just than just grade school, basketball. But anyways, one of those, girls ended up she I played with both of those girls all through high school, and Jocelyn Igo, who actually, she's one of the girls that asked me, but she actually played with me my last 2 years of UW too, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, going into freshman year of just Douglas, I was like, "Okay, I know I'm, like, good, I'm really tall, there's a bunch especially in Wyoming, everyone's short, and so I make everyone look tiny, and have got like, my coaches have been really helping me, but I was like, "Okay, this is Wyoming basketball." I mean, I don't really have much not like I don't have competition in that way, I'm just saying there wasn't really anyone to test my ability against playing against bigger sized people, you know? I kinda had the advantage over a lot of people. Not to dismiss I had still good skill and footwork that my coaches were really harping me on, but just knowing that I didn't really have someone to test me, and I could only be doubled and tripled so many times. But yes, I didn't really even think about playing college basketball until UW reached out to me like my sophomore year, and I was like, "Oh, I can go play basketball. I can go play college basketball." And so throughout high school, I knew I could play college. I wasn't sure how competitive I'd be in college. I had a few people actually tell me that they thought, or they didn't tell me directly, but they would tell my dad or someone close, and I would hear back. They actually did not think I was gonna do well at all in college. And so it was kinda fun to prove those people wrong. I had no clue who said that, but they were kinda they kinda doubted me, and then it wasn't really until I got into UW that I thought, "Okay, I actually do probably have a opportunity to play professional somewhere." So, yeah.
In high school, um, I think I'd seen that. Did you won a couple of state championships? Is that right?
Yeah, we were pretty good. My whole high school career, we only lost 2 games, and one was against, Thunder Basin. I can't remember what year, and then the other one was against this California team that came into that Gillette tournament that we played.
Hmm.
But, we won 3 state championships, and we actually say, we won 4 because COVID canceled my junior year, but we were pretty much undefeated that year, so wait, yeah, we only lost 2
Yeah.
people, but yeah, so we were definitely gonna win, um, that year, so that was a bummer, but so yeah, we were 3-time state championships.
No, that's awesome. That Gillette tournament's a lot of fun to be able to. I'm sure it was great to play against probably a little higher caliber. I know they bring in some pretty awesome teams up to that, and that probably felt tested by that, probably more than you had been in Wyoming. And so it gets to the end of your senior year, and you mentioned earlier in the interview about going on and playing other places. Did you have other options? I mean, did what schools reached out to you? Did you think of any going to anywhere else? And how did you feel like you fit in, or where did you feel like you fit in?
Yeah, so I actually committed really early. I can't remember, it was, like, a long time ago, high school was, but, um, I think it was my sophomore year I committed to UW, sometime during that year, um, and before that, I had some interest, uh, Northern Colorado, I had another scholarship offer from them. I just I didn't really find anything, like, I enjoyed their campus and the visit they took me on, when I was there for a team camp, but other than that, I just didn't feel like it was home. But
Mhm.
and I also had, it was actually funny 'cause, my high school coach mentioned to me that I had a lotta, like, JUCO colleges say they're interested in me, but they weren't going to pursue me because they knew they would most likely not get me, stuff like that. Um, so but really I didn't have many options. I think if I would have waited a couple more years, um, I would have brought in more offers, but
Mhm.
because, I was a scared, high schooler, there's no one in my family that really has that recruitment experience because neither of my parents or I don't have any other siblings who, played college sports, and so we didn't really know what to do. We just knew that we probably had to make a decision, and so I decided on UW because it was close to family. My parents could drive to all my games, my home games, and it's just really fun, having a lot of people that you know, and, um, I don't regret it at all because after being there for 4 years, Wyoming fans, when you're from Wyoming, they just feel like family, so it's been
Yep.
great.
Yeah, I tell everybody, probably one of the top things that I feel like I'm very thankful for and blessed is to be born and raised in Wyoming, and this is an awesome state. And if you play for the brown and gold, and you're from a Wyoming school. I mean, that's a pretty awesome feeling. So you go from Douglas, you step foot in Laramie. Um, how was that first year as kind of stepping up a level, a couple levels, probably from what you played in high school, and um, yeah, just how did that feel to be playing at that level?
Freshman year was so hard. I think there was multiple times that I just would wanna quit. I just remember, being in my dorm room during the summer, like, before freshman year with one of my new teammates, and we just complained and just wanted to do like, we were just so tired and, like, we it was just so hard, and we were so exhausted walking to work morning workouts and then afternoon workouts and all this stuff, and we were like, "What did we get ourselves into?" But eventually, you kinda get the hang of things, you kinda get the hang of the intensity. But, yeah, it was just so much faster game, um, which is crazy to think now because it's like now that I'm playing professionally, I'm like, "Oh, college was even it was slower than this, it's even faster now." But yeah, freshman year, I definitely took a little bit to kinda be confident, in my playing. Uh, I've really lacked that confidence, and I think that really made it miserable for me because I thought that everything, I was just critiquing everything I was doing and everything that I hadn't been coached that way before. I wasn't coached hard. Like, in high school, you're coached hard, but you're not forced to do all these conditioning or you don't get yelled at. You don't have like a certain coach watching you all day, all practice. So you have like one or two coaches that have to supervise the whole group. So it's not like you're being picked on every minute. Um, so getting used to that, just coaching style and realizing that I have a long way to grow. But yeah, it wasn't until about November, where we went to, like, a Thanksgiving tournament where I really, like, had some breakout games, and I was awarded the starting center spot, so that was pretty cool, but yeah, it was a very hard year, but it was a very needed year for me.
Yeah, and your time at UW, did you have the same coach? Was it Coach Zell, or did you Coach Legursky, was he on, or yeah, who, Mattinson probably, did you have them as coaches? How did that transition go?
Yeah, so I had Coach G my freshman year, he was great, um like, he was one that really pushed me, but he was even though some days I really disliked him because of how hard he pushed me, I knew now like, looking back now, I know how much he um, really supported me and knew that I could be great, and so I'm really thankful for him not being soft on me because, I just feel like I would've gone the rest of my years kinda relaxed and not wanting to grow more. But anyways, then my sophomore year, we got Coach Ezell, and that's also the year she had her baby. So it was kind of, it was a good transition, but it was kind of awkward because she had to leave for a little while because of just the birth of her baby girl. And that just took a few months. Like she was out for a while. And then so we had our assistant coach, Coach Larson, and so that was another hard year, but it was a good, successful year for us. We made it to the Mountain West Conference, but overall, the transition from Coach G to Coach Zell, it was great. I loved them both. They were great coaches.
So, and obviously the conversation then also goes to, just thinking about your faith and the connection there, and obviously you have been and continue to be involved with Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
So yeah, I actually like a little part of my testimony is that I wouldn't like I grew up in a Christian home. My parents are both Christian, but I didn't really get I didn't really become a Christian myself or accept, Jesus until my freshman year of college, and that was thanks to, actually my older sister. She had been at UW a couple years before me, so right away, she started taking me to the church she was attending, and we we're a part of a campus ministry called Chi Alpha, which I made some great friends there, and um, so it didn't start. I didn't actually become a part of FCA until the second semester because one of my teammates, Grace Moyers, she kind of had more connection within the FCA group, and so she kind of dragged me along, and so getting being a part of the Chi Alpha and then FCA really just um overfilled my glass during freshman year, and that really just really showed me what being a Christian was and what it really meant. And so yeah, but being I think what helped me most was joining FCA because then I got connected to Stacy Frood, and she's just been a great mentor and like leader and role model for me these my 4 years in college. So
That's an awesome story, and I know that, the your freshman year, it seems like is golly, you're away from mom and dad and from home and to all the habits and things that you do at home, and it's like, what am I gonna do with my life? And so I think it's a time, that's what I tell a lot of the high school seniors that I disciple and interact with here in Riverton and Lander and Shoshone is that, man, you've got to be when you step foot on campus, you're going to go one of two ways, unfortunately, and you're going to draw closer to God and surround yourself with other believers, or you're going to drift away and find yourself in a group that probably isn't a good group to be around. And so I think that's such a pivotal year. And for you, boy, it sounds like that was a huge year where you really developed your own faith. And made it real to yourself. I think that's the important thing. And like you said, around FCA is just putting that group around you that encourages you and that you can hang out with. I mean, you guys have some pretty awesome activities at UW and picnics and barbecues and you name it. Aaron and Stacy do a great job of that. So, how did things change for you what was kind of the lesson that Allyson Fertig learned through her years, as far as her faith goes, through her years at the University of Wyoming to the point where you're at today?
I think it's kind of hard to just wrap it all up in a couple sentences because it's such my 4 years at UW was just such a growing, and I had so many different lessons. But I think the biggest one was really just really learning how to deny myself and deny my desires, and relying on God to fulfill and show me godly desires and to follow His way instead of my own way. Um, especially I just was so focused on basketball. I was focused on being liked by everyone. I was focused on having everything organized, knowing exactly what I was going to do, how this season's going to go, what am I going to do in 5 years from now. And it wasn't until towards the last couple years that I really just realized that that stuff doesn't matter. The way I want things to be done don't matter. I still struggle with that sometimes too. I want things to go exactly how I planned it, but really just leaning on God and not worrying about where he's going to lead me. Like who what I never knew I was going to end up in Germany. I never knew I was going to be a math teacher. Um that was not stuff I desired when I was younger. And so just really denying my own wants and really first of all, I'm sorry. My cat keeps climbing.
I shut the door so mine I have that same problem, Allison, so don't feel bad.
Anyways, that's Holly the cat. But yeah, just really, picking up your cross, denying those earthly wants and desires, and just leaning on God, just in every aspect of your life, not just pick and choose. And so I had to do that with basketball, I had to do that with my school, I had to do that with my relationships and my wants for marriage and all that stuff. So that was probably the biggest lesson I've learned these last 4 years at UW. So
So I'm going to put you on the spot here, because in my mind, not everybody who listens to these podcasts um, are believers, are Christians, and I think probably if I put my mind in them, why is that better? That's the thing is like, why is denying your own flesh and seeking what God wants for your life, like, especially in the world right now, right? It's all about self-love, and being your own self and your own person, and doing what makes you happy. So why does denying your flesh and denying maybe those desires that the world says, "Hey, those are okay. Actually, we'll celebrate those." Why does where is that fulfilling at all, or why is that fulfilling? That question makes sense?
yeah, yeah, I got it. Um, I'd say the biggest thing is God tells us that we're image bearers of Him. And so if we want to show the world that we are image bearers, we have to, like it says, be perfect like Jesus. We're not going to be perfect, but we have to try, we have to try. We have to, um, especially what you're saying, this world is like everything's accepted. But God tells us that it's just the world may accept it, but He doesn't because it's going to do more harm than it will ever do good for us. I like to use this just a little example for myself. And I was kind of just like I don't know how to call it, but like a bad liar throughout my high school. And I wasn't telling the big lies. Like you wouldn't really know. Like if someone asked me, they would never have said I was, a very like a liar or mischievous kind of girl. But I knew I was telling those lies, those little tiny white lies that I didn't think were doing harm. So that's why I continued to do it. But it wasn't until I became a Christian where I said, God tells us not to lie. And it's not because it might do great damage, which it could, but it also just it's so much better. So, like, this one example through college, I had the opportunity to just straight up lie to one of my teammates because I didn't want her to be so mad at me because I kind of told on her to one of my coaches. So she confronted me because she was doing just something I didn't agree with. Anyways, so I didn't handle it the best way, but she came to and me and asked me, "Did you tell my coach?" And I could have easily just said no, and it would have been so much easier for me, but I had to really, like, no matter how much I wanted to say no, I forced myself to say yes because that confrontation and that little, argument that we may have had afterwards, I said yes, was so much better than her finding out later and me really hurting her and making it a much bigger problem than it actually was. So even just the little things like those little white lies that you may not think will become a problem, it's the snowball effect. A little of the snow at a time, a little snowflake itself doesn't do much harm, but as it grows bigger and bigger, a giant snowball destroys. And so
Yeah.
really just realizing that just because you might not be comfortable or you might get in trouble, you have to deal with the consequences of your sin, of your actions, and not and bring them to God because He sees it anyways. So if you're just hiding behind your worldly desires and your worldly viewpoints, um, it's just going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger problem that you might not know how to get out of if you don't understand what the purpose of Jesus and why we need his salvation. So I don't know if that
Uh,
answered your question, but
no, that's really good, because I think totally, right, and I don't know, I definitely, I understand what you're saying and agree with that, and I was listening to another Christian podcast, a pastor that I really enjoy, and it is kind of a funny thing as when we start we really put our lives in Jesus's hands, that we hopefully we sin less, but we also feel worse. Which is a weird feeling, isn't that? I mean, I can tell you, like you said, you were convicted of lying. In what I one of the things I struggle with is judging people without even really knowing them. And it's like, that's ridiculous, Devin. You don't even know that person,
Mhm.
and you already have these thoughts about them in your head. And I've really been convicted of that lately, and that's and those little sins, nobody knows that,
Right.
are keep me from having true relationship with Jesus, which is way better. And so I've really been convicted of that. But isn't it weird that that we do hopefully sin less, the progressive sanctification process, but when we do, it bothers us more. And I think just tells to me, it just tells us that Jesus is better,
Yeah.
right? Jesus is better than any minute white lie, or any, like, quick judgment we can make. Jesus is better. And the fact that we um struggle with that sometimes, I like, all right, when am I gonna be a finished product, Jesus? But we never are, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part. Well, that's cool. I always think of that always as, like, always, like, there's always another side of things. So, that what are people that aren't believing, or that are questioning, or that are doubting, why would you want to be a follower of Jesus Christ? And I think those are all good discussions, and just things to think about. So I appreciate that a lot. So, and connected with FCA again. And I know I've seen you there before, but you've been very involved with FCA Sports Camp. And tell us your experience with that, and your involvement with that over the past few years.
Yeah, so, first I just did, like, the little FCA camp, that's just, like, the little kids, it's called Power Camp in Laramie, and so that was kinda my first, Christian camp that I'd ever done, and it's just really fun because I love kids. Um, like I feel like God has gifted me with desire to, just have interactions with kids. Really, I'm very good with talking to children, maybe even more so than adults. And because I just love Jesus wants us to be childlike in our faith, and so it's just so amazing to see just how, um, these little kids look up to you and how much fun they have. But yeah, so I first started doing Power Camp, and then I had the opportunity of doing the big camp, and I've done that twice. My first year, it was really smooth. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a great group of girls. It was just a great experience. I was so exhausted by the end because you're doing the FCA camp, but I was also doing a basketball training on top of that during my spare time. So that was so hard, but it was so worth it. Um, and then my second year, it was great too, but it was definitely challenged me a lot. There was more, just more, I don't know how to say the word, but just like within my group, they just didn't understand. As much as the first group. They had some girls that were still, good leaders within the group, but it was just harder to get the message to them. But, and but I just this is kinda, embarrassing. Not really, but I just remember during one of the, um, worship services during that year that I was so focused on how I was doing as a leader that I was, like, crying during worship service, and it wasn't because, I was moved by the words, but it's embarrassing to admit now, like, I was so focused on what I was doing and not relying on what God was doing to these girls' hearts, and so I felt like I was doing such a bad job, but then I realized, um, these girls looked up to me, but in the end, I wasn't going to save them, God saves, and so it was really just a relief and, like, it was a relief to know that, um, like, once again, I had to give it to God, like, He will do with these girls, that He wants to do, and I think the FCA camp is just so cool because, yeah, you are, mentoring these other girls or boys, but you're also you're being mentored too, and so just the, fruit that comes from that itself for your own relationship is just so amazing, and it just meets so many people, all these different coaches, you get connections, and it was a great experience. I'm actually going to be there this year too, so I'm excited for that.
That's what I thought. So this will be our 3rd year, on campus at the University of Wyoming, and, that's a great experience. It's just incredible those few days. You guys, as huddle leaders, I'm not trying to scare anyone off because you just gave the evidence of why you should do it, but that is a busy week because you're there early, because it's not like you just show up and are a huddle leader. I mean, that's the one thing that I appreciate that they spend so much time is investing in you guys, and your faith, so that you are able to mentor and disciple those kids well. Because there are some crazy questions that you're asked during the week, and so that you're prepared for that. But then, man, late nights, for y'all, so not a whole lot of sleep because, after the kids go to bed, you guys just get together, right? Don't you have a training right before you call it quits for the day?
Yeah, so usually after all the kids are put to bed, all the girls will meet up and the guys will meet up, of course, and we just kinda debrief the day. We pray, we talk about the next day, but really it's time for when if you're asked those hard questions or you don't know what to do, you have, other people to talk about it with so that when you see your girls the next day, you're able to confidently answer their question. And just, it's really nice just to have that little community because you're not alone. It's not it's not depending on all what you say. You don't need to know every single thing because you're not going to be able to. And so it's great to just be able to debrief. But like you said, it's a late night. So, but it's worth it.
That's amen to that. For an old guy like myself, I get home and I sleep for a couple of days, before I go back to my regular job, but it's a fulfilling, fatigue, I guess, just to see the impact. And now that you've been doing that for a while, do you stay in touch with, many of your huddle members or any of the girls that you've, been part of their lives?
Um, I haven't really stayed in my first group of girls, for a while, um, they would message me or they were some girls from Lusk who I visited Lusk one time and I got to see them or yeah, something. But it's kind of fun to watch them um, I've followed a lot of them on Instagram and stuff, so it's nice to see how they're doing. And once in a while I'll ask what they're doing. But it's also fun just to see them grow up from from the screen, I'm, like, not in their face, asking them all these questions, but it's nice to see them grow up because a lot of them are in high school or graduating soon and just to see how they're going. But, yeah, I don't really keep in touch, like, all the time, but, I definitely remember them all, and I always told them that they can reach out to me anytime, so when that day comes, I'll be here for them, so
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, especially, I mean, how awesome is it for the girls that are gonna participate in basketball to have a huddle leader who plays professionally in Germany? I mean, that's a pretty awesome experience, and, it just speaks, to your humility, to come back and invest in those kids and in the University of Wyoming FCA. And now, I mean, it's a transition, right? This was your first year out of college, and you talked about teaching math. I'm just wondering, what your road is on. We also talked about a special event coming up in your life. How are things going to transition for you most likely over the next few years?
So yeah, I graduated last spring with a degree in math education, and like I mentioned earlier, I did not know I was going to be a teacher. I didn't decide that until sophomore year of college, but I'm glad I chose it. Like I said, I really like having growing relationships with kids, and so student teaching was hard, but it was good. Um it was really good just seeing how the school system works and stuff like that. Anyways, I graduated and then, that summer so last summer, I got, engaged to my fiancé, and we are actually getting ready to get married within 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks now, actually, and so super excited about that. But it's kinda cool, he also, is majoring in math education. He has 1 more year of school, but he's graduating with the same degree as me, which is kinda crazy because not a lot of people like to do math at all. Not a lot of people, not a lot of people wanna teach either, so we got the double whammy of both math teachers, so it's kinda crazy, that we ended up both wanting to pursue that degree. But anyways, he has 1 more year of school, so after that, he'll be looking for a job, and I will be following him, and I'm not exactly sure how long I'll be playing professional basketball because my desires do go, my desires, just like basketball's been great, but I care more about my faith, growing a family, and getting involved in the community even more than basketball. So we'll see how long just my career will last. I can't say for sure that it's over after next year, um, but that's just one thing. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm just going year by year. It's just where God leads me and what opportunities present themselves, and but yeah, so I'm excited to get to teaching, and I also really wanna coach basketball, so hopefully someone will want to take me. So
Yeah, I'm sure. You've got a pretty good resume there, Allison, so I don't think that'll be tough at all. And I was wondering, in thinking about that as you've been in Germany for quite a while, did was that difficult with your relationship, with your fiancé?
it was hard, long distance is always hard, but we kinda we're long distance from the beginning, like, since we started dating, because he goes to school in Chadron State College, and of course, I was at UW, so it wasn't super long distance, but it still was 'cause, he had his own activities, and we couldn't see each other all the time. So then when you take me across the world, and he's still back here, um, in the States, it was super hard, but it was also another just really a growing season for us, because we had to communicate in ways that we might not have done beforehand and stuff like that, or really finding times for each other since the time change was so bad, you know. And then he actually got to visit me during his winter break, so that was really awesome. And but yeah, so it's definitely challenging, but I would not have changed it because it just makes you really communicate better and really get to know each other. And I think sometimes just hanging out and doing activities would allow you to do.
And so that's one of the pictures that you shared with me was okay. Now, yeah, now I'm connecting those two. So for the people who are, Allison and I talked beforehand, and her fiance is Caleb Christensen from Guernsey, and I know Caleb and his family from my days in Wheatland. So it's just a crazy small world, but it is really amazing. I think we talk about. I mean, you're halfway around the world, but in today's technology world, it's so easy to, to FaceTime, to zoom in, whatever that is, and so you might be, half a world apart, but it's not really that far anymore. In in my days, it was. you hated it was long distance, and long distance was expensive, and so you hated to call somebody, you couldn't, travel there because it was expensive, and letters, were mainly it, so it's a different world, I guess, and you've made the most of it, so that's pretty awesome, and, um, how do you like, you both I mean, I don't know if you've had those discussions, at all. I mean, as both followers of Jesus, um, the family that you're going to raise, how you're going to go about marriage. Those are all really deep things to think about. But have you had any discussions about that you're willing to share?
Oh yeah, Uh, it was actually kind of a blessing because we've had lots of talks. We're not afraid to hide like we don't hide anything, not just like, secrets, but we tell each other everything. We're like best friends. So it's kind of easy to do that, but we have had really deep discussions, and of course sometimes they're going to be hard, but they're much needed, and sometimes they're going to be awkward, and I mean they definitely were awkward, but they're much needed. It was a blessing, I say, because we had similar just, things we've struggled with in the past. So, it was a good accountability for each other, like, we know, like, how this feels, or, like, the sin that we're struggling with. Um, we both have different perspectives of it, and could help each other in ways that maybe some of us were weaker at, if that kind of makes
Hmm.
sense. And so it was good, just to be able to talk about that and be vulnerable and realizing we're both like not even close to perfect, but really just finding someone who you don't want to find someone who completes you, because that's Jesus completes you, but
Amen.
you wanna find someone who will push you, hold you accountable, like, push you in your faith, hold you accountable, you enjoy being with, and you know they have desires for, expanding the family of God. So, that's one of my favorite things about Caleb is that one of the first things he told me is that he just he can't wait to have, a house, a family, and then he can't wait to invite just kids, that are in need, or just wanna come over just to come over, or need a place to hang out because maybe they don't enjoy home life, stuff like that, and he's just so excited to be that welcoming presence for them, just like he said his dad was, and, stuff like that, and he wants to just be a part of the community, be a part of the church, and, just do things for our town or whatever, wherever we end up, but yeah, that was one of the most like, that just really made me fall in love with him, just his heart, his good heart, and yeah, I in regards of, like, deeper conversations too, like, you it's relationships are hard, okay? And so, just knowing that you have to, once again, deny yourself, for Jesus, but also for your significant other. You are now stepping into a role that you're gonna have to you should be willingly wanting to serve them, too. So, yeah, just really getting that dynamic down and understanding what that will look like in your marriage, so
Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to that kind of that world thing, right? Is like the world says if you're not happy, then you need a divorce.
yeah.
And God says, no, this is a lifelong vow, and you are going to work it out with your spouse, uh, basically almost at all costs, right? Because that's what Jesus did, at all costs. He died for us, and so, yeah, that's a totally different viewpoint, and it's funny, and I think anybody who's listening that's been married for quite a while, one of the things that I always tell, uh, a lot of the kids that I work with, because it's crazy in high school anymore, how easily they fall in love, and in high school, and it's like, that no, that I mean, love love at your at a senior in high school is different than love at the stage you're at with Caleb is different than the stage that I'm at after almost 32 years of marriage. And like that love is it grows deeper. It's not a I'm attracted to that person or I have similar interests as that person. That love is deeper and means more when you've gone through hard things and hard conversations and difficult times and you know that um that your partner, your spouse is there you know whatever happens and I think that that's only time but that's it's a you really truly find out what love is after you go through hard things and I think kind of like you mentioned that I think that's very very true so that's really exciting so it and just wondering is honeymoon FCA sports camp at the University of Wyoming or do you have other plans?
Okay, yeah, we do have, other plans. We're just doing a road trip, around some national parks, Yellowstone, Tetons, over into Idaho, stuff like that. So, we'll just do a week-long Idaho trip. I meant not Idaho trip, a week-long road trip. So, we're excited about that. We're not big I mean, I say I'm not a big traveler even though I've been on a plane a bajillion times. But when you do so much, it's more about the company to me, so
Yeah.
we're excited for that road trip, and then, yeah, I guess our second honeymoon is FCA sports camps, but which I actually, you mentioned I was a huddle leader, but this year I get the opportunity to be, one of the assistant basketball coaches, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I guess I did know that. So you've stepped up or graduated in levels now, so that makes sense. I think that you probably have the experience to be able to do that and do that well. So it's pretty awesome to look at the we get the registration numbers every week and to see where we're at already, and we still have almost a month left before camp starts, and several of the sports are already full. I know volleyball already is, and so it's really cool to see that and um, I don't know. I wasn't a big camp guy when I became involved with FCA, but man, it's awesome to see the impact it has on these kids and like you said, to the friends that they make, the connections that they make, so that hopefully when they return home, they can continue to grow and to be discipled. Um, and you said you kind of were able to dig in a little bit on your own when you were in Germany. What other things do you do to keep yourself growing, to keep developing as a follower of Jesus? Do you have certain habits that you do or things that are part of your life?
Um, One thing I've been trying to work on is my prayer, just my prayer life. Caleb is great. He prays about everything. And so that's one thing that's he's really encouraged me to like not he didn't say improve on, but he by his example I've been able to see, okay, I need to um really just prayer and like Thanksgiving and realizing like how much I am thankful for. So during my time in Germany, I actually every morning I started with doing like three things I'm thankful for. And then like three things to reflect on for the day. And I try to start my morning off with prayer. And then also at night. Um, but really just trying to pray for anything and everything. That's been my motto the last especially few months and just stuff. But I think the biggest thing when I do Bible studies on my own, um, I really like just to take a chapter. I read through once and then I read through again. And the second time, I will highlight different stuff that stood out to me or doesn't really make sense. And then I'll search that up on. I actually got introduced to this at FCA camp, the Got Questions app.
Hmm.
And so I go on that a lot to just what does this word mean, or what is the author saying? Like, what does this actually mean? All that stuff. And then I also like to listen to it afterwards because I think reading and listening are kinda 2 different things, you catch on different parts of it, and it's just nice to hear it in someone else's voice. So that really helped me when I do my own Bible study. So that's something new I did within the last year or so. So those two things have probably been the major things I've been focused on, and have really just helped me just you learn like no matter how many times you read the same thing, I feel like in the Bible, I at least learn something new every single time, and so it's just been cool to reread, um, chapters or whatever that I've already read before, but actually understanding it now, so
Yeah. And back to that, like, that got questions, you probably have the app on your phone, and, that's a go-to, that usually in the Bible studies that I lead with the high school students is I always tell them, "Get this," because then you don't have to text me in the middle of the night. You can just open that up yourself, ask the question, and it's usually got a pretty good answer in there, and verses to back that up. So, got questions for anybody who does not have that is definitely a huge plus, and a great resource. So I definitely recommend that as well. Do you have? I mean, and it's always hard because I think it probably changes frequently for most of us. Do you have a book of the Bible or a chapter of the Bible that's kind of your go-to? I love this. I never quit loving this. Is there anywhere that you find yourself gravitating towards?
um, I wouldn't say I have a favorite because like you said, like I said, I learn something new every single time I read books, but especially these last since the beginning of the year, I've just been really, diving deep into the Gospels, and so, and it's just really amazing because 'cause they're very similar books, but yet they're so different, and just to see, like, the differences and just how, the wording and just, like, those little details that make it all come together in a clear image in my mind. And my favorite verse, it's been this for a while, is John 14:6. "I am the way, I'm the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." And so that just verse itself has just been such, a big, factor in my life, just realizing Jesus is the way, I need to follow him, um, and not my own way. But yeah, I would say my favorites, of course, are just the Gospels. But I really enjoy anything in the New Testament. I like reading Genesis too, because it's just like it's the beginning. You get to know where it all comes from, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's cool. That's awesome. I think, like you said, I mean, it's constant. It's the same, but it's constantly changing, and that's because we change, and the Holy Spirit knows what we need to hear and when we need to hear it, and so he illuminates things that we may not have seen before, and so yeah, I keep a journal. That's what I started doing years ago, and I have probably 10 different journals that I've filled with ways that God's speaking to me in that. And it's funny because I'll go back to something I wrote 8 years ago about the same chapter, and it's 100% different. you know and so it's pretty cool to see how God speaks to us in different times in different ways. I sure appreciate taking the time, Allison, with us to share your story, and I always just love everybody's different perspective on everything and the way these conversations go. So I always just kind of like to end it up with just asking if there's anything in your mind that you didn't talk about or that you didn't share, or any encouragement that you feel like is in your heart that you'd like to give others.
um, I think I just like to say don't be afraid to reach out to others with anything. Even though it might be hard or awkward or you don't want anyone to know that you're struggling with something. For example, you're stuck in a sin that just is hurting you, but you're too embarrassed to admit it. I was that way throughout my little time in my life of high school and college. I was stuck in a sin that was so devastating towards me, but I did not want anyone to know because I knew I would I thought I would get in so much trouble and all this stuff. and I was just so embarrassed to even tell anyone, and it wasn't until I reached out, um, to actually Stacy and told her and just let it all out that I felt relief and that burden lifted off my shoulders. So if you're afraid, to speak out because you're embarrassed, you are scared, don't be. Like how I mentioned earlier about the snowball coming, the snowballs destroy and just little snowflakes, like, they aren't really they're harmless pretty much. Don't let it become a snowball. Reach out to someone you trust, someone you have school, family, just anyone is better than no one.
That's great, and that's hard for us to do, right? Because even though we know that we can't be perfect and that was Jesus, it's still hard for us when we struggle with those things to be real with other people. And I think that's great advice for everyone that's listening, especially if you have a trusted mentor, a true, genuine believer. They want what's best for you, and repentance is what really frees your soul from the bondage that the enemy wants you to carry around. Like you said, you carried that around for so long, and once you spoke it, and said it, you were forgiven, and you're forgiven forever. That's the savior that we have. So that's a good reminder, a good encouragement. So, well, I'd always like to end by praying for our guests. So I'd like for you to join me in that. And thank you for joining us, Allison. It's been awesome. So,
Thank you.
all right, Lord, we just thank you for Allison and her heart and just her message and her journey. Father, it's just so good for us to hear the struggles that other believers go through. I had a friend tell me not too long ago that us being real in our weaknesses is when we really show others that we're not big enough to handle these, that we need someone greater, and that someone is Jesus Christ. So I just pray that you would be a strength, a rock, an encouragement to her this summer, especially as she prepares to get married, Father, and just pray that this is a God honoring marriage. Between two people who love Jesus, and that you would bless them and uh, bless their marriage, that they grow closer to you, and as they grow closer to you, they grow closer to each other. Father, I just also pray for the time we have at sports camp. Thank you that Allison is investing her time to teach others basketball, but mostly to just to share her heart for Jesus with others. Father, we thank you the way that FCA has impacted her, continues to impact her. Just I just pray that you would bless her each day. Don't be anxious for tomorrow will take care of itself. Father, I just pray that you would guide and direct her in her career, wherever that might be in Germany, or teaching, Father, that she would just trust you. We love you. We thank you. Thank you for this podcast. I just pray for those out there that might be on the fence, that they would give their heart and their life to you, God. We could just give you all the glory. We love you. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you at sports camp in about a month, okay?
Yes, yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So there you have it, folks. Another awesome one, Allison. Man, what a testimony! What a story! I really did not know Allison very well at all. Again, kind of crazy connections there through hearing about her upcoming wedding. God, God is pretty awesome. But she's just had a huge impact on Fellowship of Christian Athletes in the state of Wyoming, at the University of Wyoming, at FCA Sports Camp, and it was just a joy to interview her and hear her story. So I look forward to seeing how God uses her, how God uses her marriage down the road. So again, I just wanted to encourage everyone: if your kids haven't signed up for FCA Sports Camp, there's still time left. Go to the FCA Wyoming website and you can register. There are scholarships available, transportation available. It's going to be a great camp again this summer, and well worth their time. So we sure appreciate you tuning in to this podcast. It continues to grow. And if you would please just follow us on Instagram. Man, it's cool to see how our followers have increased. Share our podcast with others through social media and just go listen. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. We try to make it accessible for everyone. So we are just grateful for you listening and for your support. And yeah, I think that's it. Until our next guest, just pray for all of you and that school's out and it's going to be summer here pretty quick and that y'all have a good summer. So God bless everyone. Thanks for listening to the 307 Faithful podcast. This is Devin Davis. Have a great day.